Welcome to the video Culture of Ancient Greece. In this video, you will learn about some of the ways that ancient Greece contributed to their culture and our world today. Greek gods and goddesses. The ancient Greeks believed that a family of gods lived in a cloud palace above Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece. These gods were thought to have special powers, and each had control over a different aspect of life. The ancient Greeks believed in many different gods and goddesses. The Greeks believed that these gods and goddesses controlled everything in their lives and the environment. There was a god for every aspect of their lives. It was important to please the gods. Happy gods helped you, but unhappy gods punished you. People had several places in their homes where they could pray to the gods. There were also public shrines in all sorts of places where the people could pray and leave presents. Take a moment to look at the chart to your left. Notice the key in the upper right-hand corner. When you are ready, pause the video and complete the questions, numbers 1 through 7, on the note-taking page. Greek poetry and fables. Homer, seen here on the left in a statue, was a blind man of Greece. He wrote epic poems. One was called the Iliad, and it tells a story of the last year of the Trojan War and how it was fought between Troy and the Greeks. Another story was called the Odyssey. It tells of the many adventures of the hero Odysseus. At the bottom, you see a picture of the Cyclops, one of the adventures in the Odyssey story. On the right, you will see Aesop. Aesop wrote many fables. It's said that he wrote 725 or more. Most were written down between the 10th and 16th centuries. Animals were characters, and the stories taught a moral. Please pause the video now and write one thing you learned about each man. Bonus if you can find the mistake on this page. Greek drama and theater. Some of the theaters were quite large and could seat over 10,000 people. They were open-air theaters with tiered seating built in a semicircle around the main stage, also known as an amphitheater. The bowl shape of the seating allowed the actors' voices to carry throughout the entire theater. Actors performed in the open area at the center of the theater, which was called an orchestra. There are two main types of plays that the Greeks performed: tragedies and comedies. A tragedy is a very serious play with a moral lesson. They usually told the story of a mythical hero who would eventually meet his doom because of his pride. Comedies. Comedies were more light-hearted than tragedies. They told stories of everyday life and often made fun of Greek celebrities and politicians. Think of the things that you've seen and how they do that also. Interesting facts about Greek drama and theater. The word theater comes from the Greek word theatron, which means seeing place. The masks allowed for one actor to play different roles in the same play. A building beneath an orchestra was called a skene. Actors would change costumes in the skene. Pictures were sometimes hung from the skene to create the background. This is where the word scene comes from today. Pause your video again now to summarize each paragraph in 1 to 2 sentences on the handout. Greek architecture. The ancient Greeks had a unique style of architecture that is still copied today in government buildings and major monuments throughout the world. The Greek architecture is known for tall columns, intricate details, and symmetry, harmony, and balance. The Greeks built all sorts of buildings. The main example of Greek architecture that survive today are the large temples that they built to their gods. Greek columns. The Greeks built most of their temples and government buildings in 3 types of styles: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. These styles are also called orders, and they reflect the type of columns they used. Most all of the columns had grooves down the sides called fluting. This gave columns the feel of depth and balance. Doric were simple. They're the thickest of the Greek styles. They had no decoration at the base and a simple capital at the top. Doric columns tapered so they were wider at the bottom than the top. See the example below. Ionic columns were thinner than Doric columns at the base and the bottom. The capital at the top was decorated with scrolls on each side. Look at the center picture now. Corinthian, the most decorative of the three orders, the capital was decorated with scrolls and the leaves of the acanthus plant. The Corinthian order became popular in the later era of the Greeks and was heavily copied by the Romans, found here at the bottom. Pause the video now to find the types of columns in column 1 on your handout, and in column 2, draw a sketch of each column. Olympics. The Greeks started the Olympic Games almost 3,000 years ago in 776 BC. They were held nearly every 4 years for over 1,000 years until they were stopped in 393 AD. Who competed in the ancient Olympic Games? In order to participate, athletes had to be a free man, not a slave, who spoke Greek. There may have also been a rule about age. Apparently, they wanted the athletes to be youthful, or at least youthful looking. From what we know, athletes were supposed to be only men. However, there are records of at least one woman winning an event, probably as the owner of a chariot race. Before the start of the games, athletes also had to take a vow to Zeus that they had been training for 10 months. The winners of the games were considered heroes. They got an olive branch for winning, like in the bottom left, but also became famous. Sometimes they received large sums of money from their hometown. Where were the Olympic Games held? The Olympic Games were held in Olympia, hence the name Olympics. They were held there because the gods lived on Mount Olympus, and the games were to honor the king of the gods, Zeus. Athletes would travel to Olympia from many different Greek city-states and sometimes from faraway Greek colonies to compete. Please pause the video now and answer the questions that link to this page before moving on. Ancient Olympic events. The original Olympics had fewer events than what we have in the modern Olympics today. At the first Olympics, there was only one single event. It was called a standeon, and it was a running race that went the length of the stadium, around 200 meters. It wasn't until the 14th Olympics that they added in a second event. It was another running event that was one lap around the stadium, around 400 meters. More events were added over the next several Olympics. These events include more running races of different lengths, wrestling, chariot racing, boxing, and the pentathlon. The pentathlon combined the total scores of 5 events: long jump, discus throw, javelin throw, the standeon race, and wrestling. Some of the events had similar names to events we have today, but had different rules and requirements. For example, in the long jump, jumpers had hand weights to help propel their bodies forward. Also, boxing and wrestling were very dangerous events with few rules. In boxing, you could hit the opponent while they were down, and the match didn't stop until one fighter gave up or died. It wasn't a good idea to kill your opponent, however. The dead boxer was given the victory. Please pause your video now and complete the front page of the handout. When you complete the front, make sure to complete side 2. Remember, you could rewatch any part of the video at any time. Please be ready to discuss at your next station.